Car sales have crashed. Yes, it's true. Hey, everybody, my name is JJ. You're watching Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. We're not talking about a little drop and we're just calling it a crash to be dramatic and get attention. This is a real crash. We're going to talk about the automobile market and what's going to be happening in 2022. The chip shortage is easing, and there's going to be a lot of things that kind of converge here in the very near future in the automobile industry, and it's going to affect car values. So we're going to talk about that and more. Let's start right here at the Journal, the Wall Street Journal. U.S. auto sales in 2022, the worst in over a decade. So I'm not being dramatic. That was a very bad year, 2022, the worst in over a decade. And it was a combination of a lot of things. Not enough inventory, the supply chain issues. We've talked about that 100 times. The chip shortage. Who's tired of hearing about the chip shortage? Raise your hand. Well, we're going to talk about it more today, but there's good news on that. So stick with me. I know you're tired of hearing it. Many of you are, but it's part of the broader problem here and why car prices went up so much in the past couple years. Now, on a side note, GM took the #1 spot for automobile sales from Toyota. I've never had good luck with GM. But that's when I was younger. I didn't take very good care of my cars, didn't change oil like I should have. So I had a lot of mechanical problems. I'd say over the past 15 years, I've been buying nothing but Hondas and Toyotas and haven't had any major mechanical issues. So I choose to stick with those two makes of vehicles. But let's move on to the topic at hand here. Now, one of the big problems was the supply problems in 2022. Also, prices were high. So it made it much more difficult for people to buy a car. But demand is weakening because of the higher interest rates, because so many consumers are tapped out. Now, I heard from a subscriber, from a viewer. I don't know if he's subscribed, but he's a viewer, and he sent me a message, very detailed, and he works for a car dealer in Florida. And what he says is that every year, a lot more people than usual stop paying their automobile policy premium, or they stop paying their automobile note or their monthly car payment on purpose. And he says that they'll then save up money to spend on the holidays, knowing that tax returns are just a few months away. And he said they'll go in then and trade in their vehicle and use that to help them buy a newer vehicle, and also using their tax returns to get some sort of a down payment, and in many cases to pay down or pay off the old car loan. Now, that's for the people that are lucky enough to get a tax return or tax refund. I happen to have to pay capital gains tax each year, which I guess is a good problem to have, because many people are taking losses or have to take losses from their 2022 portfolio and trading. Luckily, even with the dropout in crypto, I managed to pull out a profit in 2022. So I guess I really shouldn't complain in this case about having to pay capital gains. But it's interesting that car dealer let me know that. I actually didn't know that. I mean, I thought that's kind of what people were doing. A lot of times people will go in and they'll roll over their loan into a newer car, but then they'll end up paying the old loan or owing the old loan in the new car payment, which is not easy now because your car payment's going to be so much higher with the higher rates, the high car prices. And if you're rolling in an old loan into that, that's going to be some very tricky and unique financing, and it's going to be a very high payment. Now, speaking of high payments, a record number of people have payments now that are $1,000 a month car payments. Can you believe that? We talked about it briefly in the previous video, but take a look at this. I didn't get into the numbers like I wanted to in the previous video. So the most people in history now have $1,000 a month car payment, but take a look at this. The fourth quarter numbers are out, fourth quarter 2022, of course. Almost 16% of consumers that finance a new car in the fourth quarter have a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. That's up over 10% from last year. And these people bought at the wrong time, in my opinion. Now, you could say rates are even higher now than they were in the fourth quarter, which is true. But I would much rather have a lower car price and a higher rate. That way, if you pay off or if you pay extra payments or pay additional premium towards the principal, you could pay it off much faster with that lower principal balance. All right, so what's coming in 2023? Well, likely a lot more inventory. Most semiconductor executives say supply chain shortages could ease, should ease, that's much better word than could, should ease by 2024. So sometime during this year, we're going to see a lot more inventory coming onto the car lots. We have liquidations happening with many big companies, including Carvana. We're going to keep an eye on Carvana because if they're going to liquidate their cars, we do see that Carvana is doing auctions now on a lot of their vehicles, and that's not a good sign. So they could be at the end of their days. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But combine that, the supply chains opening back up, the chip shortages easing, more inventory. But think about this: if we get a lot of repossessions, that could really add to the pile of inventory. That could really put more downward pressure on prices. So very important. What do you guys think? Are we going to see a big collapse or a bigger collapse in car prices? Remember, the peak was last March, March 2022. Prices have been declining since then for cars and trucks, but it looks like it's going to accelerate further to the downside this year, especially with the Fed out there saying rates are going to be they're going to remain high and possibly even go higher. They're out there saying that rates are going to stay higher for a longer period of time. So 2023, again, I have to say this, it's going to be very, very interesting, and it's going to be an eye-opening year and a big year for some price correction. And if you want more details that underpins how bad 2023 may be for the automobile industry, take a look. Automakers have a lot more chips now, but buyers may be in short supply, right? So we've got these two things converging. We've got the lack of buyers, people maxed out in debt, people that have already way over leveraged themselves in car loans. So a lot of people are not going to be able to qualify for a car because their debt is already so high, new or used cars in many cases, higher interest rates. But now we've got that combined with more inventory coming in here. Again, repossessions are going to go higher. The chip shortage has eased. So now more new vehicles to choose from means less demand for used vehicles. In our last report, we talked about how layoffs now are sweeping the nation, and this is just getting started. If you didn't see that previous video, look at what Amazon announced, Salesforce, and some other companies out there, Vimeo, laying people off, and this is just getting started. So everything together, the job losses, less people buying cars, you can't qualify for a loan if you don't have a job, typically, unless they really loosen the lending guidelines on these car loans. Also, how many people in 2020 and 2021 went out and spent their stimulus check as a down payment on a vehicle that they normally would not have been able to afford? And we forecasted this a long time ago, but now take a look at articles like this: 6 things that'll get cheaper in 2023. Number 1, it talks about rent. But number 2, cars. Are you waiting for the buying opportunity for a new or newer ride in 2023? And how much further down do you expect prices to go? Please let me know down in comments. I expect at least another 10 to 15% correction this year, at least. It could be worse. Am I wrong? Am I underestimating the severity of the price drops that are going to happen here to cars and trucks in 2023? Again, please let me know. Thanks everybody for being here. Really appreciate your support, and we'll hopefully see you here next time on the channel. Talk to you soon. Bye for now. Peace.